87.8 FM, live on YouTube, Facebook, and FM. And you're listening to Z Squared with Zahid Shah and Zahid Ali. And we should have Zahid Shah calling in today. And we'll be doing our normal roster of debating current affairs in sport, news, politics, unfiltered and uncensored, as always. So expect some high friction commentary on all the world's events, and we will put the world to rights. That's the aim of Z Squared. And here we go. That sounds promising. Zahid Shah. Do we have Zahid Shah on the line? Wa alaikum salam. It's like a call-in show now.
I tell you, I'm doing my fatherly duties, man.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's a good excuse.
My young son to Heathrow Airport, which is you're not going to believe this.
It's an airport, is it?
Are we on there?
Here we are.
Well, don't worry, I'm not going to swear, but I was just going to say, I mean, how expensive is parking
Oh,
at airports?
tell me about it. It's a rip-off, isn't it?
It's horrendous, isn't it?
So let me guess. What was it? £10 for an hour?
It's £10 for 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay.
All right, this way, boys. Yeah. So it's £10 for 30 minutes. It's horrendous.
You know what they're doing there? They're making use of the ability to charge supernormal rates because of their monopoly position. I mean, we're meant to be living in a capitalist free market economy. Where's the competition? Where's the competition and monopolies and mergers commission?
Well, this is it. It's absolutely horrendous. The charges for this. You know what I mean? It's absolutely horrendous. But I was going to say, so if we stay here for more than 30 minutes, we're going to have to pay 15 quid.
Wow.
So for an hour, you're looking at £15. How can they justify?
They can't justify it. They are using and abusing their position as a monopoly in that area to charge those fees. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But yeah, it is what it is. But how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. I had a mission this morning. I had to leave home straight after Seri and travel to London to Westminster Magistrates Court. I wasn't on trial, I hasten to add.
Why was that then?
It was the bail hearing for, the guy who climbed Big Ben?
Yeah.
The guy who climbed Big Ben, a guy by the name of Daniel, he's been held on remand for 7 days, and today was his bail hearing to decide whether he would be released on bail or kept on remand until his trial, and on charges of causing a public nuisance and trespass. Anyway, I felt that I should go and support the guy because I thought he'd done quite a courageous, although extreme, act of protest. And so I was in London this morning, and I've headed back to Wolverhampton in time for our show.
Well, there's important things like climbing Big Ben, but there's also very important things about Z Squared as well.
Absolutely.
That needs to go on.
Whilst I was in London, guess what I saw a lot of?
Sorry?
Guess what I saw a lot of in London? Black and white shirts. Newcastle fans still celebrating, bleary-eyed.
Listen, let me tell you something. Massive Liverpool fan, as you know. But I'll tell you what, I don't know whether it's Ramadan, right? But, I was hoping that, this isn't going to sound great, but I was thinking that if, Newcastle win, the final, I wouldn't have been so aggrieved,
Yeah, I think there's
right?
it's a lot of people's favourite second team, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Geordies.
So
I think we've. Lo-
The Geordies are really, really great people. And if there's any Geordies listening, congratulations on winning the Carabao Cup against Liverpool, my side. You fully deserved it. They did, didn't they? They fully deserved
Yeah, absolutely.
the win.
Salt of the earth.
Uh,
And what a story for Dan Byrne. He used to, he came through the Newcastle Academy. He's a local boy. They sold him because they didn't think he was going to be good enough. He went to Brighton. He did amazingly well at Brighton. And then they bought him back and he scored the first goal and got man of the match. So that's an amazing story for a local lad from Newcastle to score an important goal in a cup final. Just the thing dreams are made of.
well, I tell you what. I mean, both goals were superb. Second goal from Isaac was splendid. That touch was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can see why
Great
he's
to see.
rated as a 100 million, 150 million pound striker. They don't make many of those nowadays.
No, they don't. They don't. And I think what it is it was really it was a good final for Newcastle. I did watch some of it, but I watched some of it because my wife and my mom and my grandkids and my daughter-in-law went to Pakistan.
All
Sorry, not
right.
Pakistan. They're going to Pakistan, but on the way they're going to Umrah.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, I wish them a
So I
good,
was a bit
successful Umrah.
taken with all that.
Absolutely. What was wrong with Mohamed Salah? Was he fasting or something? He seemed right off it yesterday.
Mohamed Salah looked like, you know, yeah.
I think
I think
actually maybe
Mohamed
the whole
Mohamed
Liverpool
might.
team were fasting yesterday.
I know Salah fasts, yeah, but he's fasted in the past. Maybe the fast did get to him, but I'm not going to make any excuses. The bottom dollar is as you know, uh, and for our viewers, if you're going to do anything in life, you need to have a plan,
Yes.
right? And if you got a plan, that plan, and if you've got a plan, you got a good chance of being successful in what you do. Now, yesterday, I felt Newcastle had a plan, and then more importantly, with the plan, they had the desire and they wanted to win. So it just captured everything. And in all fairness, I didn't. I think there was Liverpool made a couple of substitutes where Curtis Jones came on. I don't
Yes.
know if you remember. And then
Hmm.
I'm not being funny. A foot either side, and that's a goal.
Yeah.
That's with about
It was
40
very
minutes to go.
close.
It'd have been interesting.
Yeah.
But it was a good save, wasn't it? I mean, yeah, it was close to the keeper, but it was a good save, wasn't it?
I mean, both Liverpool and Newcastle are real like people's clubs, aren't they? They're integrated into their local communities. They have a tradition of bringing through young local players into their teams. I mean, Liverpool have had people like Robbie Fowler and Michael Owen in recent times. Steven Gerrard, Stevie Gerrard. Did you like nice Scouse accent there?
Yeah. It wasn't a bad accent of a South actor from a Oxford student, I suppose.
But yeah, I think it's nice for those sort of clubs to win. And Newcastle have not won a major trophy since I think 1955. So it's absolutely fantastic for the people of Newcastle. I think there
Well,
might.
listen. Another. I mean, another thing is that the Saudi owners,
Mm,
right?
yes.
Let's give a big thank you to them as well. I mean, don't worry, I'm not trying to get a free Umrah or a free Hajj from the Saudis, but I think it's interesting that they come on, they've become owners of Newcastle. They took the previous owner out, the guy who owns Sports Direct,
Uh,
and then
Mick
they've come
Ashley.
in. They've had the cash, they've had the ambition, but more importantly, they've brought in a very, very good manager. And he's a young guy, and he's done really well, hasn't he, since he's been managing Newcastle?
You know what? I'm going to give the credit to the players and the manager rather than the ownership. I think A lot of people thought when the Saudi wealth fund took over Newcastle United that they would splurge lots of money on Newcastle and try to whitewash some of their international sort of tarred reputation when it comes to things like human rights and stuff like that. But they've been prevented from actually spending a lot of money by the PSR rules, the profit and sustainability rules that the Premier League have
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
instigated to
Well, I,
stop
well, listen.
rich people coming in and
What are
spoiling our game.
what are your thoughts about these rules? I mean, because I mean, I don't agree with these rules. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are. I mean, they've got the
We
money. Why
started off
not just have
today's conversation talking about the rip-off rates that they charge for car parking at Heathrow, and that's because it's a monopoly and it was taken over by these sort of capitalist, short-term profit maximizing funds. And so we can't, on the one hand, criticize those people who are profiteering from their monopoly position and then not apply the same rules to people who come in and try to buy and monopolize the our football game, the people's game in this country. We shouldn't have foreign owners coming and using them to profiteer. They should be run in the interest of their community. In Germany, the model that football clubs are run on is that the fans own a ownership stake in the clubs, and they can't be bought out of those ownership stakes. So basically, they have to run the club partly to build the team, but also in the long term interests of the community and the football supporters. And I think that is something that should be introduced here. Gary Neville, the ex Man United player and now commentator, he has said that we need to have a football ombudsman in this country who can actually act as a regulator of this industry, because otherwise, look what's happened at Manchester City. We've had these owners from the UAE who've come and spent a lot of money. They're now, under investigation by the football authorities because apparently they've broken the rules 115 times. They're being charged for offending on 115 different rules. And so we've yet to see what the outcome of that investigation is going to be. But it's about time we stopped owners like the Glazers at Man United coming and ripping off football supporters.
Yes, yeah, and this is why Z squared is such an interesting program, because on one hand we're talking about the inflation of car parks on you know airports, and then on the other hand we're talking about why the, owners of football clubs are hurting and destroying fans and whatever. So this is there you are. 1 minute I was supporting talking about cost. Next minute I'm supporting multi-billionaires.
Yeah,
I
at
mean,
one point you're
I suppose
anti-capitalist, and then suddenly you're pro-capitalist.
that's what I'm saying. It just shows you where my politics is nowadays, isn't
you're
it?
you're
Nowhere.
you're pragmatic. That's how they term
Yeah,
it.
a pragmatic. But the thing is let me just say something. You know, when Manchester United were dominating the Premier Division, right? They spent a lot of money, didn't they?
They did spend a lot of money, but that was because they have a pre-existing global brand, and they have a long history of success. So, and they have a big fan base. They had one of the biggest stadiums in the country. So a lot of it was internally generated revenue from the local community. What's happened in the last 20, 30 years since Sky came in and the start of the Premier League is because TV rights started becoming more lucrative, you could sell to a global football fan base, probably less committed than the local fan base of old, but it was all about branding and selling yourself globally. And then it brought in a lot of money from outside, from, let's say, foreign billionaires and foreign wealth funds who aren't interested in the local community. They're interested in sponging off the brand which was created over, 50, 100 years by those local people, those local supporters, those local football players over generations. And then they're coming and basically monetizing and profiteering off that brand in this new global media age. And that does not sit right with me, and nor does it sit right with many other people. And that's why we do need a football regulator in this country, and stronger action from the government to regulate this industry.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's, I can't disagree with you, can I really? But I still believe that there's a lot of restrictions that were put on. I mean, if you look at Manchester City, you just discussed, there's issues because they've been very successful as well, haven't they?
But
I've
they
seen
they did came in. They were, remember Alex Ferguson called them the noisy neighbours, and they did come in and suddenly start spending lots of cash, like attracting Pep Guardiola, attracting players like Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne and all this sort of level of players, and that's how they went from being pretty much a second-rate sort of mid-table Premier League team to challenging for Champions League and those sort of competitions. So it's that has come about because of money rather than the organic appeal of the brand or the local fan base. And yeah, so I'm uneasy with that.
definitely. I mean, listen, look. I know. I've got to know you. I know the kind of person you are. You're always fighting for rights. I can understand. I can see you going to court against, these multi-billion-pound football owners in the near future.
Well, one set of owners who I think have done actually a pretty good job is Fosun, who own Wolverhampton Wanderers, a Chinese state adjacent organization, and they took Wolves from a championship team into a consistent Premier League team.
Sorry, what? I
Uh,
lost you there, Zahid. What did you say?
I was talking about Fosun, the owners of Wolverhampton Wanderers. They've done actually a good job.
Yes, definitely.
And maybe
Absolutely
it's
right.
because they are from China, and China for a long time had a socialist economy, and now they've changed to a market based economy with Chinese characteristics. And so they take a long term view. They're not short term profiteers like some of these Western capitalists.
Yeah. But the thing is how much money have your owners spent since they've been at Wolves?
In terms of net expenditure, I think it's been quite low because what they managed to do, they spent a large portion of their money, they invested a large portion of their money at the start when we were in the championship. They attracted players of the caliber of Ruben Neves and Diogo Jota to Wolves while they were a championship team. I mean, these are like Champions League players. Ruben Neves was captain of Porto at the age of 19 in a Champions League match. So, he was a highly regarded young player, and Wolves managed to attract him from being a Champions League player to play in the Championship, which is like second level in the English hierarchy. And so we managed to get him reasonably cheap. I think we bought him for about 10 to 15 million. And then when we sold him to the Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, we sold him for, I think, about 40, 50 million. So we made a good profit.
Al Hilal sounds like a kebab.
Well, he's making a lot of money, and he can buy a lot of kebabs with that money.
I'm telling you. Mate. I'm serious. Horrendous. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is Wolves. I'm going to ask you a question. You're a massive Wolves fan, and obviously I live with, all the viewers, majority of the Wolverhampton people. could we see Wolverhampton Wanderers in the future winning the Premier Division?
A few years ago, I'd have said no chance because there's so much money in the game, and a lot of the money goes towards the top biggest teams. With the biggest global fan bases, and it's hard to break into that sort of top six. But then Leicester City managed to win the Premier League in 2015, 2016. That came out of the blue. Nottingham Forest this season, sort of a middle ranking club, probably similar size to Wolves. They are now in the Champions League positions as well. So it is possible if you get a combination of owners who look after the long term interests of the club, a good manager, a good style of play, and a good collection of players. If all of those things come together, you can, I think, have the odd chance of breaking into the top six and getting into the Europa League or Champions League places. But maybe not winning the Premier League seems a bit distant for Wolves.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's it is. I'd love to see Wolves in one of these kind of situations where they're playing they're playing what you call it again, the European Cup.
Yeah.
Or even the one that's sidelined to the European Cup just to start off with. Do you know what I
The
mean?
Europa League, they got to the quarterfinals a few years ago under Nuno Espirito Santo and lost to Sevilla. But we were close. We were very close to getting into semi-final. I think that season was ruined because it was a COVID-affected season. So that impacted the games and the atmosphere at the games. Otherwise, I think we might well have gone all the way there. We were looking very good. And we did have players like Diogo Jota, Pedro Neto, Adama Traore, Ruben Neves, Raul Jimenez. That was a star-studded team, and we took it for granted, unfortunately. And now, look at us now. We're celebrating being 17th and 9 points clear of Leicester and Ipswich. And it was a good weekend for Wolves fans, actually, because Wolves managed to win against Southampton, whilst our closest rivals, Leicester and Ipswich, both lost.
What was the score? 2-1?
Yes, Wolves won 2-1 against Southampton. With 2 goals from Jurgen Strand Larsen.
No, it was a good game. It was a good game. It was a good game. But Wolves, I would say they needed that. They needed that win, didn't they? Otherwise, they could have been in serious trouble.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're now 9 points clear, but every weekend is basically a potential 6-pointer because if Wolves lose and the other team win, then it's a sort of potential 6-point turnaround in the potentiality.
What do you think?
I think now Wolves are pretty much safe. We've got a good run of fixtures coming up. Our next fixture is at home to West Ham, which is the Max Kilman derby. Would have been the Julian Lopetegui derby, but he got sacked from West Ham, our former manager. And then from then on, we've got...
To be fair with you, I'm not surprised. He got sacked. He was poor.
He's very poor. I think he thinks he's better than he is. He got sacked by the Spain national team because whilst he was manager of the Spain national team, he was holding talks with Real Madrid, trying to sort out himself a job at Real Madrid. So he's rather unethical in some of his behaviour, actually.
Yeah, he was well, to be fair with you, I don't, the manager there's that at the moment. I'm just trying to remember the guy's name who's just taken over at West Ham.
Graham Potter.
He was. Do you remember when he was at Brighton?
Did a fantastic job at Brighton, yeah. But
he did a very good job at Brighton, didn't he? And then he goes to
Chelsea.
What do you call it again?
Chelsea.
And I don't know what your thoughts are because we kind of look at this, but nobody at Chelsea gave him a chance, did they?
You know what? I think he was the right manager for a certain type of team. At Brighton, he was assisted by the management of the owners of Brighton. They're very clever guys. They're city people, they're financial traders, and they applied a Moneyball philosophy to how they manage the club. So, what the Moneyball philosophy is, it's based on a book by Michael Lewis. He's quite a famous American writer. And he actually wrote about how you could use statistics and basically computer modeling to analyze who the best players are based on their statistics and bring together a group of players um, on a sort of pound cost value approach for the best statistics and bring together a team based on those characteristics and actually build a team from there rather than the traditional approach where a football manager and his coaches and his scouts look for players and just on their own whim decide which players would suit the way they want to play football. They use the sort of bottom up um, computer modeling approach, and it's been very successful when it's been used in the United States in baseball and now in football. Both Brighton and Bournemouth have used those sort of computer modeling techniques. And again, it goes back to a discussion we were having a few weeks ago about AI. I mean, artificial intelligence and the power of computers nowadays is really allowing new ways of doing lots of different businesses.
Well, the thing is I'm glad that you mentioned artificial intelligence because,
Okay, we've only got
you
20
know, how
seconds,
do we,
Zahid, so we'll have to come back to this discussion after the break. So, to our
well,
listeners, do join us after the break, and we will continue our discussions and putting the world to rights with Z squared.
thank you.
Whew.
You still on?
Yeah, well, we're offline now. We're off air, but he can carry on talking to you. We're off air. Hello? Zahid Shah. Hello? We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to hang up and call back, or how do we do it?
You can stay. You can discuss what you're going to do.
What are we going to discuss in the second half? Are we going to go to artificial intelligence?
I think we should because I think artificial intelligence is something that I've been looking into quite a lot.
Oh, right, excellent, right.
It helps me a lot with my day-to-day life, and I think we should share what we experience. I'm not probably as well versed as Zaid Ali when it comes to artificial intelligence, but do you know what? Let's look at it. Let's talk about artificial intelligence and see where we can go with this because I think it's an area where if you look at your social media accounts now, or every other what you call it again advertisement is about learning to become an artificial intelligence expert in 30 days.
Really? Wow.
Hey,
Okay, and then are there any issues in the news that we want to talk about as well after we've discussed artificial intelligence?
well, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about uh, you know
What is in the news? Oh, I haven't even paid
Oh,
attention.
actually, you're live. There's no
sorry.
advert, so carry on.
Oh, we're still live. Carry on.
Oh,
So let's carry on our discussion about artificial intelligence, which came about after we started discussing Moneyball and the Moneyball techniques, which have been used successfully in the Premier League, especially by Brighton and Bournemouth.
okay. Well, what 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 are we talking about now? What are we going to talk about?
We're talking about artificial intelligence. We moved from that use of computing power and data modeling and all this sort of thing in football, how it can be used in other aspects of life. And I think you've got some instances of where it is being used.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I think that it is scary. Artificial intelligence is very scary. But do you remember when you know the first time you got a tom tom?
Oh yeah,
Do you remember
yeah, yeah,
in the car? And
yeah.
everybody was saying, "Oh, look at this tom tom. It's going to make people And then what happens? Every car now has actually got a tom in there, hasn't it?
Yes.
You know, so again, it's not artificial intelligence, but it's intelligence to make people, you know, become a bit more. What's the word again? A bit more. Not. I don't want to use the word lazy,
Mm.
right? I'm going to
A
say
labor saving device.
efficient.
Yes,
Labor
yes.
saving device. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes. It saves a lot of labor
So
because we remember the old days where we had to have an A to Z and we had to like flick through the A to Z and it was a nightmare, wasn't it?
it was a nightmare. It was a massive nightmare. Absolutely was. You're right. And this is the thing. You know, you'd be doing all kinds of stuff, right? And using maps and things. Now, you know, then this came along. Now all of a sudden, the TomTom has got become Waze, and every car now you can put on, you know, you can put your phone on, and it links to your car, and then before you know, you've got your mobile phone, right? Getting you home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with an efficient method called Waze, which cuts out all the traffic and actually smoothens out your journey as well.
What is going to be
Moving on to
interesting is, I mean, Elon Musk is trying to develop fully autonomous or semi-autonomous drivable cars. So basically, the computers, because they know because they have the sat nav maps and they have the intelligence now, they can actually monitor the roads for traffic and then actually drive the car themselves. I mean, that is going to be really freaky, I think.
well, yeah, it is freaky, but I'll tell you what, I'm not as fortunate, but my sister, you know, she's got one of these SQ8s, yeah, Audis, and I'm not being funny. I think if you put in the destination and you jump on the motorway, it can actually drive you there
Wow.
almost uh, all the way. It's so scary. I
Uh,
mean, it doesn't go off lane. It just, you know, you stick in a lane and it just drive you there.
wow. Yeah,
Phenomenal,
it's incredible what they can do with
phenomenal.
technology
And
now.
artificial intelligence is going to do that. But I'll tell you what, um, I I recently have been using artificial intelligence to send my emails.
Wow. Tell us about that. How does that work?
Okay, so what happens is what I do is I write an email, yeah, right, which is my verbal reasoning isn't as articulate as Mr. Ali's, right? So you know, I'll write an email to the best of my ability, right? Then I'll put that into artificial intelligence and say, can you improve it? And then artificial intelligence improves it and sends it back. Now, what's fascinating about this is that when it does that, your email goes up by a bigger notch than you know what you wrote in the first place. Yeah. So you might write, say, 3 lines, say, dear Zahid, blah blah blah. I'm looking at procuring your services, blah blah blah. You put that in, and then it'll give you a a better answer with a few more pointers and maybe a little bit more specificity than what you put in there. Then what happens is when you read the one that the artificial intelligence is done, it actually upskills you even more,
Yeah.
right? So the next time you write an email, it's actually better than the one that you wrote last time. You put that back in, and then it gives you another improved version of what you wrote.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's just one example. Another one is if you're trying to say improve your health or you're trying to improve your training methods, you can put that into artificial intelligence and say, I'm I'm um, I'm Zahid Shah. I weigh 83 kilograms. I'm 5'7". I need to put a program together to get me down to 77 kilograms because my son's wedding's coming up. Blah blah blah. And artificial intelligence will give you a completely breakdown of a plan of your diet and how what kind of training you should be doing and
Wow.
over what period of time. So you could say I need it in 4 weeks. So basically do it for you rather than you having to going to these apps and paying money, whatever. You get it free.
Wow, incredible. I was last year. I was watching a speech being given by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf of the Zaytuna College, and it was the normal illumination, very articulate, cogent arguments, amazing facts, from Islamic history, the way he normally brings together his ideas and brings them to bear on current affairs and always sort of inspires you. And I was thinking, oh yeah, this is a very good speech. But he was talking in a very sort of abnormal monotone for him. Normally, his voice is full of like character and depth and light and shade and all this sort of stuff when he's illustrating his points. And then after about just a minute of his speech, he stopped and he said, "That was the introduction written for me by AI." So basically, he'd used AI to write a speech for himself, and it just seemed like his normal speech and very, intelligent and articulate and all this sort of stuff. And no one would have been able to tell the difference because he just delivered it uh, in a monotone, was the only clue that it wasn't his normal sort of delivery and normal sort of articulation of his speeches. So it's very interesting how AI can now come up with very good speeches in a very specific topic area like Islamic philosophy or theology or whatever subject he was talking about, and it seems like indistinguishable from an expert in that field, such as Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. And that was a year ago. And since then, computer processing power is always increasing and improving. The
Well,
amount,
that's what I'm saying. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying. So you about a year ago would have ideally recognized what. Oh well, that doesn't sound like Hamza Yusuf, yeah. And you would have thought, wait there, that's a bit strange. That doesn't sound like him.
yeah,
But a year on, if you listen to him again, you might think, okay, that is Hamza Yusuf. And then what you don't realize is artificial intelligence has improved, right? And there's no way you're going to pick up. Now, there's a lady called Barbara O'Neill, right, who's a health health expert or health guru, yeah. And I don't know, have you heard of Barbara O'Neill?
I've never heard of her.
She's phenomenal, right? And but what's happening is her videos now, people are using artificial intelligence to utilize her, and it's her voice, but it's artificial intelligence selling products that have got no relation to what she's
So it's like,
promoting.
so it's like deep fake, or is she aware of that her trademark or image is being used?
It's her face, and it's her speaking. But at this current moment in time, you can tell it's it's artificial intelligence because I've heard a lot of her videos,
Mm.
so I know I've got a rough idea, that's a fake. It's not her, right?
But
It's somebody using an artificial intelligence with her face and her voice, and the artificial intelligence is so good that when she's moving her lips and she's talking, it's like she's saying those words. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's phenomenal. But Zahid, I mean, that is just a little bit of. I was quite, specific there. But artificial intelligence is quite a broad area, isn't it?
it
What
is.
else do you know about artificial intelligence?
Oh, I mean, there's probably a lot going on in the sort of the bleeding edge of the field in terms of it being used in technology, in military uses, where obviously they have a lot of the best scientists and technologists working for them, and they throw a lot of money at these sort of fields just to get a slight edge over their competition. And obviously, it's life and death in those sort of fields. So the US government must be spending billions on this sort of technology. There's actually recently Tucker Carlson interviewed one of his former colleagues from Fox News, Clayton Morris, and I haven't listened to this part of it, but I saw that one of the elements they were talking about was this top secret technology which is being developed and nobody knows what is going on. There's been suggestions that there's almost sort of like technology which has been developed as part of the extraterrestrial investigation UFO programs, and that sort of level of technology is being used now by the military in some sort of nefarious uses. I haven't got round to viewing the video, but one of the subjects that they've talked about is that, and that is Tucker Carlson, who's well connected in U.S. media and political circles.
Okay.
I mean, we
Well,
normally see AI being used for frivolous purposes. Like after the Zelensky and Trump meeting, there were like kids in their bedrooms using AI to create fake videos of Trump and Zelensky fighting. Now, if kids on their home computers can do that sort of thing, and it looks almost like realistic, doesn't it? And it uses Trump's voice and Zelensky's voice using deep fake AI technology. If they can do that with their limited means, what could governments do?
well, this is it, you see. So, you talked about governments, and you just talked about a very interesting area. You just talked about young children
Mm,
in their bedrooms actually, you know, putting these videos together. Now, I'm going to go a step further and say artificial intelligence is going to create super beings, superhuman beings.
ooh, I think there is something called transhumanism. Again, it's something that Elon Musk is working on. He's got a company called Neuralink. They're actually implanting computer processors in the brains of primates, apes, gorillas, and trying to basically affect the way their minds work and control them. It's and that's
So,
that.
when you watch films like and yeah, um, you know, if you're going to start, putting chips into primates, yeah,
Mm,
the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start seeing, um, you know, um, monkeys and gorillas and chimpanzees and these kind of animals start talking.
quite possibly. Quite possibly. I think
Well,
at the
well,
moment
well.
their goal isn't to evolve apes and primates and help them become, say, start working for us. I think the aim is to use those processors once they're developed and they can safely implant them into primates and show it as a proof of concept. Then to transplant them into people's brains. Maybe people who've had like brain injuries, or maybe it could help people
Okay,
who have dementia
okay.
or Alzheimer's
So,
to
so,
rewire their
so,
brain.
so, so you're talking about good things as well that can come out of this.
Potentially good things, but you know what people like Elon Musk and some of these capitalist companies are like. They are interested only in making a lot of money. So wherever there's money to be made, they will use their
So,
technology in
so,
that.
so let me just chuck something at you because you've got me thinking and I'm thinking out loudly and you're thinking out as well. If you look at these concepts of what you just said with Elon Musk and putting chips in here and there and supporting people with dementia. Now, let me just say that my beloved father, right? He died at 93, right? And I'll tell you something. Um, he died because of his dementia.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
it's an
Yeah.
increasingly
Okay.
common
He had
problem.
Yeah, he had. Don't get me wrong, he had issues, but health wise. But it was the dementia that took him because he couldn't remember and couldn't remember what he was doing and blah blah blah. Now, if he had that chip put in by Elon Musk to help him or whoever, to help him with his dementia, he could have lived. He could have lived a lot longer. Now, I believe that this technology, this artificial intelligence, is going to start making people live longer. right? So if you look back at the days of um, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam,
Hmm.
uh, did he not live for 940 or 950 years?
Yeah, I think a lot of
Something like
the
that.
prophets that are talked about in the olden days, they did live very long lives. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this with this artificial intelligence being put into your, let's say you and I, Elon Musk calls us up or whoever and says, I'm going to put a chip in your brain that's going to, as soon as you got an issue, it's going to deal with it, and if you've got health issues, it's going to tell us, right, and then we can look after you, and or we can prevent it.
Mm.
You are going to end up living longer, aren't you? Because if you've got a chip there that's diagnosing any problem that's coming in, like, let's say you're going to get cardiovascular disease or something like that, but then there's a chip there that's going to make your body work differently to deal with that, you're going to end up living a lot longer, aren't you? Am I going off track here a bit, or
Potentially, yeah, potentially.
what do
It
you think?
was the subject of my talk on Ramadan Ruminations, my Wednesday show from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. last week, where I talked about one of the issues which is really agitating the mind of Elon Musk is the uh, population collapse crisis. He believes that we're going to have a collapse in population because of fertility rates are reducing. And what we're going to do is end up having older population, and they are going to be having to be supported by a smaller and smaller group of people who are active in the labor force. And because there's going to be such a healthcare and social care cost to looking after the older people when they're in their old age, paying their pensions and paying for their healthcare and social care, that the younger people, because they're going to be a smaller demographic, the amount of tax burden that they have to bear is going to be larger and larger. And this is what is going to cause a sort of, according to him, a sort of collapse of society. So that is one of the things which is worrying him. So I don't know whether he'd use his technology to actually lengthen lives. I mean, we've got in this country this talk about assisted dying bill. I mean, the government's actually trying to get rid of people rather than actually help people live longer.
Well, look. If you look at the the Saudis and Musk, they're trying to. What are they doing? They're building some kind of a um, city, aren't they? Some kind of a
Neom,
very long city.
Neom,
Eh?
Neom.
Yeah, yeah. How many miles is it?
I think it's about 100 miles or something silly like that.
Yeah, and why are they building that? They're building that so they can have some kind of a super race, aren't they?
Ooh, that would be an interesting concept. I don't know what sort of super race they could create. Just, I mean, Elon Musk seems to be trying. I mean, I don't know how many children he has at the moment, but I think it's something like 13 or 14. He's like trying to create his own football team or something.
Yeah, I bet most of his kids have got chips in their head as well. You know,
Well, he gives
you
his
know,
kids very
you know.
weird names, doesn't he? Like one of them's called X Alpha or something, and it's like some squiggles after it as well. So yeah, very weird names. Um, but anyway, let's move on from discussing Elon Musk because I did
Yeah,
a whole
so
show about
yeah,
him.
I mean, no, you did, you did. Now, so we've had a little chat on artificial intelligence. It'd be nice to see what the viewers' thoughts are on artificial intelligence, and
Oh yeah,
what they, where they think it would benefit you know, benefit them, their families, their children, and is there a future? Are they worried about artificial intelligence? Is it got what do they think? Has it got any pros? Is there any cons? Come on, it'd be nice to see viewers out there, sort of either ringing in or texting in. Zahid, can
yeah.
you just remind them of the number or the the WhatsApp number they can actually
Yes,
text and ring in?
the WhatsApp text number is 07440 420 432. So if you want to text us, you can do so on that number 07440 420 432. And Britain actually has quite a leading position in the international AI field. It's an area where the government is trying to encourage more investment and more children to go into that area. So, yeah, it'll be interesting what comes over the next 10, 20 years. One of the most successful companies in the UK in that field has been a company called DeepMind, which was set up by Demis Hassabis, who was actually a contemporary of mine at Cambridge University. And he ultimately sold his company to Google for 500 million. That was about 10 years ago. And now DeepMind is one of the leading divisions within Google, that international $1 trillion plus company. And Demis Hassabis has been, I think he's now Sir Demis Hassabis. So he's regarded as one of the worldwide authorities on AI.
I think that have you done any courses on AI?
Personally, no, but I have a lot of friends who were doing computer sciences at university alongside Demis, and so they're very well aware of what he is doing, and uh, y- they they tend to use computer modeling their skills in the area of finance and building models, trying to gain an edge on other traders and make that extra buck. So they're not really putting their skills to great use for the benefit of society. It's to make money.
Okay. I was just saying that it, we need to explore this uh, a little bit more. I don't know whether we'll get a chance to do it during this Ramadan, but it'd be nice if we could get a guest in who's got some kind of knowledge on artificial intelligence, a lot more than us, and just kind of give us some guidance on how they're using it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some youngster out there who's actually studying computer science right now in the ether in the Wolverhampton area who could probably bring us up to date on what the latest things are in the AI field. I've come across increasingly a lot of students doing postgrads in AI related fields. So it's a very interesting field right now. There's a lot going on.
Zahid, how long have we got left before we have the break? It's
50
only
seconds.
50 seconds for our next break. So
okay. Can I just say now, just before in the next 20 seconds, our guest next, mine and Zahid's guest next week, we have got one guest called Ricardo Gordon, a ex-professional cricket player, but a very intelligent man from the Android community, and he's going to come in and give us some insights onto professional sport and how you prepare mentally.
wow,
Right,
that'd be
Zahid,
very
back
interesting.
over to you. How long we got?
16 seconds, you'll be back again.
So we'll be back in 16 seconds. So join us
Back
again
in.
after the break.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, it's still running.
Oh, it's still running. So remind people of the WhatsApp text.
Oh, no.
It's
No, sorry, it is a break.
oh, it is a break.
Are we still running or what?
No,
It's
no,
it's
it's a
still
break.
it's a break. It's a
It's
break.
a break.
It is a
Whew!
break.
Wow.
Let me cut off. When do you want me to ring back in?
There's only 5 minutes left. Whether you want to stay on?
How long we got left?
5 minutes.
Oh, are we not going to 5:30?
No, for the break.
Oh, 5 minute break, and then you're going to be back on. So it's almost not worth you hanging up, Zide. Right.
What,
What should we talk about for the last half hour? 24 minutes.
how long we got? 24 minutes, about half five.
Yeah.
I was going to say, um, I think we need to look at planning, and some of our young people in out there, who are studying, and what they need to be doing, and what parents need to be doing with young people. And I want you to talk about your experiences, working in the community and in the mosque, and I'll talk to you. I'll talk about my experiences as a secondary school teacher, and why some of these South Asian inner Pakistani city boys are and girls are actually struggling.
We want to try to be positive. We want to like try to encourage
No, no, we
rather than put
no.
people down.
This is what we're going to do. We're gonna start off with a negative and then give people a solution. Yeah,
Okay.
and what the solution is and what people should be doing, because our young people at the moment are struggling, and they're struggling with a lot of things. Now, what I'm going to do, if it's okay with yourself, is I'm just going to pull over.
Mm.
How long we got before we're back on?
3 minutes.
How many?
Three.
That's 3 minutes. So I've got 3 minutes to pull over and get myself something. Oh, I'm not. By the way, I'm not fasting.
Okay. Never mind. All right. Don't say that on air. On Ramadan radio.
No. It's first fast on missed down to traveling. What about yourself? Were you in London last night?
I travelled this morning straight after Seri, and I've kept the fast, and it was a bit of a struggle, but I've survived.
I'm a bit confused because I spoke to my scholar, and he said that if you travel before 12 o'clock, which I did, because I traveled at 7,
Mm.
and you travel, he said something like about 50, 60 kilometers, something like that.
Yeah.
He goes, you can't fast. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you can make it up, and there is dispensation for traveling, and quite rightly so. So yeah, I mean, it's up to you. You can do the choice. We're all adults, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala knows our intentions, and that's the key thing. As long as our intentions are good, i.e., that will make up the fast, or we will do something else to replace the fast. Then it's Alhamdulillah, Allahu Alim.
That's what I was asking you, because when you look at it from that perspective, I'm not doing anything wrong, am I? Because
No, no, no,
according to Islam, that you have that
no. There is
that leeway. You've got to make it up. There's no doubt about it.
there is that
But
dispensation. Yeah,
yeah, does that make sense? So
yeah.
this is why we kind of do you want to talk about fasting and traveling? Can we talk about it?
Um, it's a bit outside my competence. I think we should let scholars talk about that, or people who've like properly prepared on the topic, rather than us just like talking off the top of our heads.
That's fair enough. How long we got left?
1 minute.
Ask Alvina that we're going to about 5:30, because I'm on the motorway, so I don't want to lose the I'm driving down now from London, so there's a possibility I could lose reception. So
Okay.
half an hour probably is going to be ideal. I
Mm.
don't want to go.
Well, it'll be 24 minutes, won't it?
Yeah, you won't lose reception, trust me.
You're right, because you're above ground, and it's not like you're on a train. Trains sometimes go through tunnels, and then they lose connection.
25 seconds.
No, I'm not. I'm not on a train. I'm okay. I'm actually what you call it again. I'm I'm in a car. But I mean, so far I've been driving back from London, and we haven't got cut off, so it's been pretty cool.
7 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton, 87.8 FM, and we are on Z Squared on a Monday drive time show. And my colleague Zahid Shah is literally driving as we speak. So, well, he's in the car, so he's not breaking the law.
I was going to say, driving myself crazy.
So, what are we going to talk about in the remaining half hour as we take people home, Zahid?
Yeah, well, what I'd like to talk about, if it's okay with yourself, is just want to have a little chat about, you, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I want to talk about how young people, being a school teacher, and there's a lot of intelligent young people out there. I'm not even trying to knock anybody or anybody, but just to say that, there's a lot of people out there, and I just find that in schools at this current moment in time when I've been teaching and I've been working with young people, you ask them, what they want to do or what their, what their objectives are after leaving school or college, and they don't have a clue, And this is not being hypercritical, but the reason why I mentioned this is that I don't know what you were like when you were growing up, but when I was a young lad, I wanted to play professional cricket. I had a plan, right? But that plan then got better and better, right? As I went along.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you talk about your experience.
My plan got better and better, right? But what it was I was very fortunate, right? To have a plan. I was very fortunate to have a plan, and basically what it was it allowed me to stay focused for about 2 or 3 years, and then after that, I had to look at other options as well, sort of thing. So you have had a great career in the finance market, business, and I know you went to grammar school. You were one of the few that grammar was actually a proper grammar school in Wolverhampton. I just wanted to find out from yourself what did you have a plan when you were at school?
Well, I think the key thing for myself was I was very lucky to attend a school where the headmaster was very encouraging and very good at getting the best out of the teachers and the children and emphasizing the need for, um, you know, concentrating, keeping our focus, uh, morally, instilling those sort of values in you of hard work and commitment and drive and the love for gaining knowledge. And that actually came from our parents as well. So it starts at the home. The parents have to, instill that sort of drive in you and try to encourage their children as much as possible. But children, a lot of their time is spent nowadays at school with their friends, being molded by their teachers and their head teachers. So that's where a lot of the drive and the values come from. So it's very important that their friend clique is suitable for them. I.e., if they're in a bad crowd, they're going to be led towards bad values and bad characteristics. If they're in a good crowd of people, they've got good friends who are, studious, who work hard, who want to gain knowledge for the right reasons, because they want to, contribute positively to society. Then they will automatically, imbue or by osmosis gain some of those values and characteristics themselves. And I think it's particularly interesting this week because it's been announced that the new head of Ofsted, the interim head of Ofsted, is a Muslim by the name of Hamid Patel. I don't know how much you know about Hamid Patel.
What's his, Hamid what?
Hamid Patel. So Hamid Patel was the is the head teacher and chief sort of executive officer of a bunch of academies in the northwest of the country who have been very successful at adding value to children from our sort of communities, people from, second, third generation immigrant communities, people from Muslim or Pakistani backgrounds who might not normally be seen as, the most academically proficient, but the success rate of his schools, his network of schools, has been so great. So great has been his impact on his local communities in
Where's he based?
It's in the northwest, so in the Manchester, Lancashire, Blackburn type area.
Okay. Well, is it? Because I went to Blackburn
Mm,
a few years ago, and I met up with a friend of mine who lived in a very prestigious part of Blackburn,
right.
right? And we went past his house, and he goes, "Oh, that's an Islamic school."
Okay.
And I said, "Okay." And I looked at the field. Said, "That's awesome." And he said, "The Ofsted on the grades for the GCSE and the Ofsted on these schools are phenomenal." So I'm just trying to figure out whether those schools are linked. Because he did say that they were run by Gujarati Muslims.
That does seem to stack up with what we know. So, to give him his full name and title, it's Sir Mufti Hamid Patel, CBE, and he is the chief executive of Star Academy, and he has led that trust since its
Oh,
inception.
the Star Academy Trust.
Yes.
Okay, I know Star. Now, well, let me tell you something. You know when I did my PGC training,
Mm. Let me just explain that for people who aren't aware of the acronym. PGCE is Postgraduate Certificate in Education. It's what a teacher needs to get to qualify to actually teach children.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Zahid. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so when I was doing my PGC training, I did my NQT, right, which is the newly qualified teacher status, which then it's a year, which then allows you to teach like freelance in the country without having to be supervised by people. And
Right.
I did my initial training at Star Academies, and my headmaster was Ahmed Hussein.
Wow. That's amazing.
You, did you not know that?
I did not know that. That is very interesting. So you are maybe 1 or 2 degrees removed from the new interim head of Ofsted, Sir Mufti Hamid Patel.
Mm, absolutely.
So,
So I worked for this guy indirectly.
what made these Star Academies so good that they added so much value to the children who went through that system?
Well, you're asking me that question, aren't you? The the biggest thing I saw with Ahmed and his school was discipline.
Yes.
It was discipline because as a school teacher working in uh, the everyday comprehensive school in a city, you find that the the discipline with young people
Mm,
in inner city schools is completely out of control.
right.
Okay, but if you look at the Star Academies, they are very, very discipline orientated, and even the most hardest of children have to fall in line.
Right.
That's why, as a teacher, if you go into one of the Star Academy schools, what happens is because the discipline's so good, you've got an opportunity to teach. Now, when you're teaching a complex subject like maths,
Yes.
yeah, which I was teaching, you can go anything from subtraction, take away, addition, subtraction, to you know sort of the advanced algebra,
Right.
right? Now, you need discipline in the classes to teach every single one of those subjects, whether it's addition, subtraction, or algebra, or circle theorems, yeah, or even Pythagoras.
Yeah.
So whatever you teach, you need discipline, you know. So Star Academies incorporated that within their academies across the UK,
Right.
which has allowed them to the teachers to teach and the children to learn. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
this is an important thing about teaching.
So it all starts from discipline.
Yeah. Now, let me just take that a step further. Do you remember when you and I were learning the Quran after the UK Islamic mission back in the day?
It's a long time ago, but I do remember.
Yeah. Now, if you look, there was a gentleman called Muhammad.
Yes, a very great Molana and leader of the community. Sadly, no longer with us. Hello, I think we've lost Zahid Shah, well, the connection to Zahid Shah. We haven't lost Zahid Shah, thankfully. Alhamdulillah. Oh, are you back, Zahid? Okay, we've got a bad connection with Zahid, but we were just talking about one of the great leaders of our community, Maulana Mashhadi, who, is fondly, lovingly remembered by many people. Such was his influence over a long period of time, teaching many generations of our what now would be termed elders in the local community. And that was brought up because we've just been discussing what are the qualities and the values that are needed to be instilled in our young people nowadays so that they can be successful in whatever careers they choose to pursue.
Hello?
Hi Zahid, yeah, I was just explaining to people why we were talking about Maulana Mashhadi and the great influence he had on several generations of our community here in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, he did, but God bless him. He was an academic himself, wasn't he? He wrote books on Islam, but he had. You remember when Mullah Mashhadi was teaching? He had 100 kids, right? Probably 100 boys and 100 girls. You know, the boys would be downstairs and the girls would be upstairs, and he'd be the only one teaching. So he knew that he had to have discipline.
Yes.
His discipline methods were probably not acceptable. They wouldn't be recommended nowadays, would they? But, you know, he did do well and he taught us well. So, alhamdulillah, you know, he was a good role model. But coming back to the Star Academies, what they do is, Ahmed is a good friend of mine and a very good head of the school in Alum Rock. And him and his group there, you know, they have to have discipline there because in inner city Alum Rock, it's very, very tough, you know, especially for teachers in that area. You could imagine, you know, when I say that, couldn't you?
Well, I remember there was this controversy a few years ago called the Trojan horse controversy in around 2014, 10 years ago. And that actually impacted some schools where the performance of the schools was exemplary. They took children who'd previously had, or the schools had a previous GCSE 5 to 8, A to C pass rate of, I think it was something like 10%, something low single digit percentage rate, to over 40% pass rate, or 5 A to C GCSE pass rate of over 40%, I think it was. I mean, which is like an extraordinary improvement. So they did very well, but they seem to be destroyed by some sort of like political machinations at that time, I think.
And I'm so glad and so grateful that you mentioned that and talked about that, because I know all the teachers set up by this BS Trojan horse scandal.
Mm.
Yeah, because it was complete BS. It was who wanted to raise their name because they were struggling and they thought they'd lose the next election. And what they did was this school called Parkview
Mm.
in the Alum Rock area, where most of the people I know taught and worked in those schools, and they did a phenomenal job. It was all lies,
Yes.
basically, just to and stop the school. Why that was so myself as cities, inner city schools of an allocation to go to university,
Right. Yeah.
right? And the Parkview School was taking majority of those opportunities
Right.
within Birmingham. So
Okay.
the other schools in the area were having issues with this. So they got this local MP, Mr. Mahmood, right? And they developed and designed this Trojan horse scandal and absolutely destroyed that school.
Okay, we should. We'd probably need to, if we mention names, we'd probably need to give people a right of reply. So we probably shouldn't mention any names. And apologies if we've misnamed anyone in this regard. But yeah, we won't talk about
Yeah,
names. We'll
he's
just
more.
talk about the
He's
general
more.
outline of the case.
Really on the show.
Mm.
You're all right. There's a right to reply, but yeah, and that's what happened. And the school just I don't know where the school is now, but I'm so glad that Star Academies have gone into Arm Rock, and hopefully they can turn that area around.
Well, I think it's very positive that a Muslim figure, a high profile Muslim figure, has been given such a top job, especially given all the sort of racist sentiment we get around Muslims and immigration nowadays. It shows that there are Muslims contributing to this society. I mean, such has been the impact of Sir Hamid Patel's Star Academies that he has now been elevated to this very significant national position of interim head of Ofsted. Ofsted is the basically the regulator for all the schools in the country, and they inspect and make sure that all the teachers and heads are actually teaching children correctly. So that is a very significant position, and it's alhamdulillah that a Muslim has been given that position because of the quality of the education that they have been instilling in their academies.
No, you're right, and I'll tell you something else as well. There's a Star Academies in Alum Rock, and there's one in Perry Bar, and the one in Perry Bar is producing so many young people with grades 8s and 9s,
Mm.
in the GCSEs, and even it was schools where it was set up by a Muslim person and whatever. Now people from all over other communities want to go to that school because they know that if their kids go to that school, it's a free school, and they can get the grades that they need to get into university and forge themselves a good future career.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, we should always remember as well that um, in the Holy Quran, the first command in the Holy Quran, the first verse revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was read in the name of thy Lord who created. Ikra bismi
Absolutely.
rabbika allazi khalaq. Yep. And so the idea of learning, the idea of reading and reflecting on the signs around us, that has been instilled in Muslims from the very start of our community, and the start of Islam as a religion in Mecca. And that is something to be celebrated. And there's plenty of hadith about the straight path, and will follow in the footsteps and of so many great Muslim intellectuals and scientists and educators, and either learn beneficial knowledge or go on to teach and
Working very closely, with young people to help them, get go in the right direction.
yeah.
And I think good on those people, because a lot of our community is focused on by what's the word I'm going to use again? Is by volunteers. Yeah, and there's so many great volunteers in our communities that help. Yeah, our young people, sort of, to see that. So I'm hoping that the program has given some people a vision
Yeah,
to what we've discussed. And if there's any questions or you guys want us to discuss anything else, let us know.
absolutely.
We're more than happy to discuss it.
Yeah. And that we do have a specific show on this radio station called the Teens Talk Show. So they are leading from the front. Young people are, gaining valuable experience in this field of being radio presenters, chat show hosts, and hopefully it will benefit them. It'll be a great experience for them to take on to their future lives, whatever careers they pursue. So yeah, I mean, it should be something that should be encouraged. These young people who are taking these opportunities and trying to, improve themselves in whatever avenues they choose to pursue.
Definitely, Zahid. Definitely.
Okay,
You
so
still there?
we've got 1 minute left. So how do you want to wrap up today's show, Zahid?
Well, do you know what? First of all, thank you very much for everybody listening in. And I can't believe it, Zahid. Time's already finished. It's phenomenal. And just to say that next week we got Ricardo Gordon coming on the show. He's going to be our guest, and he's going to talk about how to become a professional athlete. And we look forward to everybody next week. And I'll let you have the last 20 seconds or whatever.
Okay, well, that was Ramadan Radio, 87.8 FM, Wolverhampton. Listen to us again next Monday, drive time, 4 p.m. till 5:30 p.m. And keep it